Call me Neoblade. This is Protoss Bronze 2 Masters, and with me is Veryn. Hi, Veryn.
Hey, Neoblade. So yeah, right now we're looking at a PvZ on Thunderbird LE, which is quite a large map compared to all the other maps we played on today. Maybe not King's Cove, but the rest of them. And
I have a question.
Sure.
Why do you think the developer of this map placed 2 watchtowers very far away from the middle? Do you think these watchtowers help at all?
I'm not sure. They're making it easier to create a vision ring, I would say.
Okay.
On the outsides, which is most of the time the hardest part to get vision onto because they're on the edges of the map.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, maybe you can spot some doom drops that are going like on the very outside, but I don't think they're very useful at all. But yeah, I'm actually not a map maker, so maybe I'm not the best person to answer that question.
Okay.
I don't find them very useful.
Okay, we see a very, very early pool. So, what is your decision now?
So, because I don't want to die to Lings, I skipped the Nexus and I instead built another Cybercore and another gateway to wall off my front.
Okay.
I think by now against Zerg you should definitely wall off the front. There's a lot of guides on that, but most of the time it's just 5 minutes in the map tester and see how the walls work. It's really not very hard.
And
Make sure you have
can
a
easily. There's a guy called Gimini, glaube ich, I think,
yeah.
and you can easily search for Reddit and wall, and then you're fine.
Definitely, yeah. His guides are very good. So because I saw that he took a gas as well, that means that he's probably going to try some sort of speedling attack, but it could also be roaches, banelings. But we know there's not really an economic build coming anytime soon, so we don't really need to expand that quickly. That said, we still do want to get up our expansion, so we get it a little bit delayed. But yeah, because we have a wall and 2 zealots, the Lings don't do anything. I was trying to save my zealot here, but I didn't do a good job, and I lost it. You guys don't really need to do that. Losing a zealot for 6 Lings is totally fine, since you have another one.
Yeah, and it's the problem is, if you do this kind of micro, you're risking to let the Lings into your base, and then you have real trouble. So I would not recommend this move until you are really, really good in your zealot micro.
Yep. Definitely agree. So yeah, during this game I actually violated the rules a little bit. I apologize. I played a little bit intuitive, so I got some adepts here. You can technically do zealot adept, which would be a fine early game composition against Zerg. And because adepts have the ability to be very annoying, but they're also very micro-intensive, so you need to be careful that you're not spending too much time on them. And right here we scout the front again, and what we see is that he built a bunch of Lings, so he can't really have more than, I would say, 20 drones. And if you look at the unit tab, you see that he has 17 drones, and he doesn't even have his first base saturated, and he doesn't have a second base up, so we're really far ahead right now.
Yeah. So, guys, let's remind you that of course you can play charge slot adept, and you can try it, and you can try to use the micro as well. But right now, this is the staircase step 5, and yeah, I talked to Veryn that he should not do that again, because we want to show you that you can improve your mechanics using the staircase very much. And using difficult builds is totally fine when you play the staircase step 5, step 6, and you just you only have to wait for it like 50 games or so, because if you reach master spending skill in 4 out of 5 games, you can advance to the next step.
Yes, definitely. Again, I'm sorry I got a little bit carried away here. I'm not very used to having restrictions on the units. So I just intuitively built some adepts here. Yeah.
And I understand it because there was a speedling all-in incoming. Right now, we just try to try to think that we never built the adepts, and now we do a little bit of micro with a warp prism, which I like very much, and we'll see this more often. And I think using stalkers to do this is fine as well. So right now the Zerg is not able to kill our warp prism because he only has one queen, and Raze is defeated. What?
I mean, if you take a look at the unit tab, you know that the game is over, right?
Yeah, okay, but...
and he's a platinum player, so he knows it as well.
Okay.
People start to get better game sense. He's supply blocked for Eternity right now.
Yeah, okay.
He does have one overload on the way, so there is no way he's going to be building any drones anytime soon.
Yeah, okay.
I have 2 bases fully saturated. I have another robo on the way and 4 gateways.
Yeah, he knows his attack, early attack didn't do any damage, and now he sees you're on Robotech and you're using a Warp Prism, and you know he's dead. Yeah, I understand that.
The reason I really wanted to include this replay into the series is that sometimes I feel a lot of people, and I struggled with this too in the past, after you defend an all-in, how do you proceed? Where are you in the game after his attack fails? And the most important thing is that you just don't panic too much, right? You keep building probes, you keep scouting. Keep scouting is a really important step here, because you want to know if he's continuing the all-in or if he's trying to transition. And with the Zerg, it's very easy to tell because either they build a lot of units or they don't. And if they're not building a lot of units, they're building drones, right? Correct. Or can only do one or the other.
In the higher leagues, in the lower leagues like Gold and Platinum as well, the problem is they sometimes just stop at building 40 drones and even build a third base, but they have fear, and so the fear tells them, okay, I'll build a lot of units, and then they sometimes attack. So it's not like if you play a Master Zerg where you can assume he's building as much drones as he possibly can, but it's very simple. If the Zerg builds units very early on in the first 6 minutes of the game, he cannot build drones. It's simple math.
Yes. So yeah, just don't get too rattled, don't get too confused when you're defending an all-in. You definitely can cut probes certain times, but you probably shouldn't, right? Especially in the lower leagues, almost no reaction that you have to do is so drastic that you need to stop building probes for a long amount of time.
Until Diamond 2, there is no reason to prevent probe production.
Pretty much.
This I've had this with Blechfaust, who is Platinum 2. He's a Terran, and he stopped SCV production, and he concentrated on stutter step micro and tried to kill a Raven in a TVT. And I showed him, if you would, he had 400 minerals overmins in the first 3 minutes of the game, and 600 when the attack commenced at 6 minutes. And I told him, if you would have macroed properly, you could have had 45 Marines by now. If you don't waste your 23 Marines to this this early attack, and then he could have taken all of his natural SCVs, like 20, and 45 Marines, and he just could A-move the complete attack, and he would almost lose nothing. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but it would have been, the game would have won by then.
Right.
Because the counter go with, I think, 30 Marines would just kill the opponent. But since he panicked and he thought, okay, I have to kill the Raven midfield, I have to kill the Liberator midfield, and nothing of it worked, because the opponent, of course, has good micro, because he plays this all the time. Yeah, he just panicked, and his macro was bad, and he lost the game. So basically, always build probes, and try to analyze the situation. Is there a big attack incoming, like scouting the front, as you have seen in the other games? Scout the front, and then you can decide, do I have to take my workers to attack him, or is it enough what I have?
Yep, exactly.
Sorry that I talked so much. Sorry.
No,
This is
totally fine.
okay.
I think it was actually a very important explanation. Because I'm guilty of this myself. I always try to find 1,000 different reasons to stop building probes. But actually, if you're looking at the replay, in most cases, you could definitely conclude that building workers would have been okay as well. But yeah, I think the most important thing to take away from this replay is don't get too scared and keep scouting so that you can make smart follow-up decisions.
Yes. Because it's I have to admit that scouting an aggressive Zerg is the most problematic part, because you just he can stop his attack. Perhaps he attacks you with 20 speedlings. Then he just could stop his attack and start droning as hell. Or he can build a follow-up all-in, like Roach Ravager behind it, and kill your wall with a Ravager with the corrosive biles, and then you're dead anyway. But a very easy solution in the staircase is build a robotics facility early on and boost out an observer, because then you can just check his economy and see, are there very much drones? Then you take a third base. And if he has no economy at all, you just build gateways and immortals and try to hold his stuff. Or even a sentry. Okay, a sentry would be zealots, sentry, immortal would be the staircase step 5. Yeah. So yeah, sometimes you just lose games. That's part of StarCraft as well. As long as you win you 60% of the time, you're totally fine.
Yep, I totally agree with that.
So I have, regarding this map, I have a question. How you do it with the mineral blocks in the middle of the map? There's a pathway, so you can have an easier attack move. In the middle of the map, there are, I think, 4 mineral patches with only 5 remaining. When do you mine these so you have a more easy attack route, if at all?
The ones in the middle, I almost never mine them out, because it's very kind of time consuming to send out. I mean, you would have to send out 8 workers, right? Or 1 probe 8 times, which would take forever as well. The only ones I mine out are the ones that are placed directly next to your third base, so I can access my easy 4th base. Yeah. But by the time you mine these out, you already have the base right next to it, so it doesn't take as long. Usually, I would probably recommend just going around. You can break the rocks as well, which doesn't take a lot longer, to be honest. And especially if you have big armies. If you have small armies, the blockers in the middle aren't a problem anyways, right? Because you can just fiddle through them. Yeah. But with big armies, just go break the rocks. It's way easier. It doesn't take as much time, and it's not as complicated.
And last question. I know you're not a map maker, but I never understood, because you know more about maps than I do. You know large maps, small maps, and I don't care, because map layout is not on Diamond is not important to win or lose games. But I do not understand if you go to the rocks in the middle. I understand these blocking rocks up the ramp, they're standard, but then there are rocks in the middle, just, I think they're for beauty reasons. I don't see why they should be important for anything.
Right, so one thing with map designers, that when you have very open space, try to imagine the rocks not being there, with the ones in the middle. Then you would have a very wide space where your army can just position perfectly. Yeah. This rock actually makes it so that you have to either kill it or split your army, because it will automatically split, right, if it runs around the rock. Yeah, okay. Which makes fighting a little more interesting, because it isn't just this huge flat space. Because this is a problem that I think old StarCraft maps suffer a lot from, that there's just not enough things to make fights interesting, because there is so much flat area. Yeah. With stuff like this, you can actually force a reaction out of the armies just by making them split, basically.
If you going to the left rock and you move to the north, if there would be PvZ so a Zerg would engage there. He could position without the rocks very perfectly. But if you use force fields, you need only 3 force fields to the top of the north wall there. Or?
Yeah, probably. I think 3 perfectly placed forces will be enough. If you overlap a little bit, you probably need 4. But in best case scenario, you need 3. I think. I haven't tested this though.
Okay, I understand. But so this is for fighting purposes mainly. Okay, I understand that.
Also, I'm not sure because I haven't played on this map like a lot yet, but if you look at the rocks, especially on the right side, it looks like there is a side blocker under it actually. So if you kill it, there is going to be a side blocker.
Ah, yeah.
I'm not sure about this. I haven't tested it.
Okay. Yeah, I understand. Okay.
Yeah, those are my thoughts on the rocks in the middle of the map.
Okay. Thank you very much for the insight on those maps, and yeah, so this is it for today, but I hope I will get an appointment with Veryn in the near future, and we'll see you guys soon.
Yep. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye bye.